Hi everyone, Sarah here. Day 4 of classes. So again, always let me know. We always check to make sure you can see and hear me because we flipped between Facebook Live for our flash sales and that page, and now we're on the virtual page. So my mom always has to let me know whether you can see and hear me. And then we also talk for a little bit to make sure all of our devices are off because sometimes, yeah, oh, see, it was mom tonight.
It was off, but it went back on. I don't know why. Okay, you're off.
Is everybody hearing me and seeing me? Any comments, Mom?
No, not yet.
Okay, well, let me know. Not going to start until somebody comments hi.
Can't see you and hear you. Hi.
Okay,
hello
she's seeing him.
from
I'm not
Hershey.
seeing him.
I can see and hear you.
Okay, awesome. So tonight we are doing layered florals with Rubbernecker. So Dave is here and he's going to be teaching you. So I get a little reprieve. But I will be back tomorrow night. We'll be doing cards. Also tomorrow I'll probably pop on sometime and just go, or maybe I should do that tonight. Tell you what homework you can do. Maybe I'll type that in. But anyways, I'll be on sometime between now and 6 o'clock tomorrow night. So anyways, where was I going? So anyways, we're doing layered florals after class. If you want to stay on, we are going to do a comment sold. Rubbernecker has some products with them, so we're going to do comment sold with their products. I believe it will stream both here and on my regular class here and on my regular Facebook page. So you might just have to refresh so you can see that. But it'll take us just a couple minutes to get set up after class, and we'll be right here doing a live sale. So I'm going to turn you over to Dave, and then he's going to take you down to the table to teach you how to use inks to make some layered florals. Bye, guys.
Hi everybody, good evening. You'll have to put up with my monotone voice. I don't have the a cappella capability of going high and low like Sarah does for inflection. It is cute, but sorry, male gender doesn't do that. This is what we're going to do. You guys have got this package, or you're watching and you're going to get it later, right? Okay. So we're going to go to the table and we're going to start unpacking this and talking about what's in it. So we're going to shift over here now. There you go. And we got it on the line. Okay, I'm going to try and find the right volume here so it's you can hear me. But we're going to do 3 cards tonight. We're going to start with the purple and then we'll move into the 2 oranges. You can follow along with me in the instructions, but they're pretty general. We've given you a set of memento and distressed ink colors if you don't have ours, that are generally in the same color range. I can't guarantee the stamps will look the same because their colors are not our colors, but they can be close. I can't guarantee it.
That was Sarah. Sorry.
Okay, so we've pulled this out of the pack, and we've got all these pieces in there. So I just want to go through it, make sure everybody's got all the pieces. This is the actual stamp set we'll be using. And this is the die cut set that I've already used, and we're going to show you how to do some things, but we're not going to actually cut tonight. And then we've got 4 other small packs. So this is one I'm going to call the scallop card. This one's called the splatter card. And this one's called the stripe card. So set those 3 packs aside along with the die and open up your stamp set and open up this last package. And these are the actual pieces that we're going to stamp on. Take those out, set the black aside because that'll just be for a sentiment at the end. The little pieces are for anything you want. The flowers will fit on there. That's one of the large flowers. They'll fit doubly on here. So conserve when you place these so you can get a couple, because you've got to eventually do where'd the package go? We're going to do 6 of the yellow flowers and 3 of the purples. So we're going to start with these. So let me get a little bit of organization out of the way here. These are our 5 ink shades that we're going to be using. We're going to be using the yellow out of here, the citrus and the apricot out of the orange set, and the crimson. That'll be making our flower, and then we'll modify that at the end. I'll show you how we can do some tricky things with these. And we'll use the mist and the clover for one set of flowers, and the moss and the basil for another set. And the purple flower, we'll use all four of the ones from set number 6, the purple set. So we're going to set those aside as well, so I can get to them over here. And I'm going to bring out my stamping platform. Now, I'm going to have somebody hand me a couple of blocks, so we're going to try and show you that, how we can do this without using a stamping platform. But I'll tell you right now, when you're doing a 4-layered flower, it is next to impossible to achieve without a stamping platform. Being very immodest, I'm very good at lining these things up. We spent years doing our watercolor florals, and those were multi-parts, usually just 2 parts on top of each other, but sometimes more. But the precision that's required on these guys is a lot higher, and so it's very, very difficult to get this so it's right. So I'm just going to do a quick one here and show you one major layer and how I would do this if we were using stamping blocks.
You can also oh, right on there. Okay.
And right away you can see that it's blotchy because we're trying to put dye ink onto a clear surface, and it always kind of beads up on you. So just to get the second one on there, you've got to get right over the top of it. I'm going to slide this back a little bit because the camera is actually right where I'd like to put my head. And yellow is very hard to see. So I'm going to try and do that. And I put the stamp on the block with the edge parallel to this paper like we taught everybody when we did our watercolor florals. But I will bet that I didn't get this lined up. Now, you can see there's lots of extra little peaks here, and it's a little fuzzy on the top. The line's got a little thicker, so I missed by just a little bit. But when that happens, your flower will simply look out of focus. And so if you don't have a stamping platform, this is going to be a really difficult thing to do. So let me show you what happens when we actually have a stamping platform involved to do this with. And I feel like I'm missing something that I'm supposed to talk about. And well, we'll catch it. We'll come back to it. Ah, yes, I just remembered. Okay, so I talked about how sticky these stamps are, right? You can see that it's sticking to my finger. That is the back side, but there I'm still sticking the front side. And this stamp has been used quite a bit. So it's going to happen over and over. And there is a way to prevent that from happening. And I'm going to position my stamp on here. And we'll get back to the positioning in just a second, but I just want to show you what I do to make these things come out. Put my magnets off to the side. There we go. Okay. We pick that up, and it wants to stick to the paper. And what I do is I take a pink eraser, old-fashioned pink eraser, and I simply just drag it across that. It doesn't really leave much on there. It just takes the tack off of it, and it keeps your inks from beading up as much, and it makes it a lot easier to apply the ink without it beading, and so you get a better image right off the bat, but it doesn't stick and pick your paper up. So we're going to go ahead and continue with this one. And I'll put 2 coats on there. And then I just want to hold it up for you to see the difference between what we stamped, trying to match it up. And quite immodestly, I'm very good at that, but it wasn't good enough, especially with the contrast of yellow to white paper, and how perfectly we were able to do it with the stamping platform. So if you want this this set and any of our other sets to really come out, and any of the other companies that are making the same kind of stamps, you really need somebody's platform, whether it's the My Sweet Petunia platform or if you have one of the tonics or any of the other ones. The Stampin' Up platform is quite unique and it works really well, so I highly suggest that you invest in one of those. So now we'll start stamping these for real. That guy's on there and it'll go right there, so we'll put our magnets like that again. So we're going to use the lemon yellow to start with. Oh, wait a minute. I might as well do a twofer. We're going to do both the large and the small one. And it's time to, I'm really getting ahead of myself. This is what happens when you've done this a few times and you don't need all the assistance that you might need if it's the first time. Inside the package with your stamps, you'll find this layering guide. And doing this for the first time, it's critical that you use this. The stamp itself, each one of the stamps, this would be this one, and this would be, the little one here would be here, but your second layer is here, your third layer is here, and your fourth layer is here. And this is oriented the same way from one to the next. So once you find your layout for this one, it's pretty easy to find it in the other ones. But the way I taught myself to do this was to find something on the stamp that you could recognize. And so I need a pointer. There we go. I use this portion of the stamp itself right there. I call this the W, but it's not like any of the other places, and it's pretty open, and I can find it on each of the other stamps, and so it lets me find that point and continue to lay it across as I orient my stamp. So if I take that W right here and I lay it down on here just like that and pick it up, that W, the one leg of the W, is horizontal for me, and it makes lining everything else up quite easy. So I'm going to do the same thing on this one. And I'm just going to cheat and put it right over here. And we'll color them up together. We're not going to make every part for every card. It just simply will take you too long and everybody will get completely bored of me by then if you haven't gotten there yet. This is the time when you want a video that you can speed up and see the result, because we're just going to stamp over and over. The yellow portion of the flower is what makes the flower pop. And so you want a nice, bright, well-stamped yellow base. And I usually am putting 3 layers on this when I'm doing it. And that looks quite nice. I'll give my stamps a wipe. Put them back on my magic sheet. And go for stamp number 2. Now, this is when the W comes into play. We've actually put a little dot right on the back of the stamp to help me find it easier. And it just fits in here right like that. And once you get that piece, if you just rotate it, holding that point, the white that surrounds the yellows that we've already stamped will seemingly disappear. And it will just be in line with the yellow that's below it. And if you can disengage your fingers without sticking to the stamp, it will stay right where you put it. And I would say that you should watch this on camera, but I really don't think you can see the contrast of the yellow as I work it around there. And I think I have it. Because I can't get right over the top of it, it is difficult to tell that it's exactly where it's supposed to be, but I think it is. So if you can get your head right up over the top of your stamping, and then lift it up carefully, still wants to stick, just a light rub. And I do this every time, and it'll take me 30 or 40 renditions of this before that sticky is gone. So we're going to put our lemon yellow away for now and switch to set number 2. And we're going to take out the citrus and the apricot. Citrus being the lighter one, and that's what we're going to use on stamp number 2. And if you're noticing the technique that I'm using, I found that I get a better coloration, deeper color, if I do this by pushing and twisting. Again, one of my favorite things about any stamping platform is you don't have to be a good stamper. All you have to do is be persistent. Okay, those will work. Wipe back on the pad and stamp number 3. Again, my W is right there. It's the only horizontal line that's going to actually show up on the stamp. So it's pretty easy to find. There. And I'm sure you can't see this, but if you can just notice the white that's down on this edge. Mm-hmm. And so as I rotate it and get it in line, it disappears. And so you want to look around all the way around, and if you can see a little bit of white peeking out around your stamp edge, then just micro adjust it again. And then pick it up gently because it will want to stick a little bit. Now we're going to switch to the apricot. This stamp set is easily the most difficult that we ever created. On the other side of it, I think it's the most exciting stamp set we ever created because there's such flexibility to it with 4 pieces and all these vibrant colors. The stamp set was designed, and we're going to show you this a little bit later in actuality, but the stamp set was designed so that you could omit either layer 2 or layer 3 and adjust your colors downward or just skip that color to give yourself quite a few variations possible with the same stamp set, so every one of your flowers didn't look the same. Now this one is more difficult. The last one is more difficult because there is no stamp that actually fits into this W anymore. So I adjusted my look so I could see, and I've made marks on here, so I've got the dot that is on the back here, and I've got an arrow that tells me where it goes. So I'm going to connect to that point, and I know that this piece that sticks out over here goes right there. And so I've again put my marks on my paper so I can find where things go without having to teach myself every time I do this.
Dave, question?
Question. Somebody has a question.
What was color 3?
Color 3 was apricot. And color 4 is going to be the crimson from the red pack. Now this one requires me to get over the top of it somehow to get a look at it because so much of the stamp set is gone now that I need to be careful. Okay, I think that's going to be it. And that one goes right like that. Well, one thing we've noticed is that our crimson, the red line, but the crimson and the nectar particularly, will stain the stamps, and there's nothing we can do about it. It was one reason why we didn't create our watercolor florals in clear for the longest time, because several of the watercolors actually stained the stamp too. But it wasn't the red in that set, it was the yellow that did it. So different chemicals in different inks react with the polymer. And so you can see it looks like I hit it pretty close, but I'm still not quite perfect there yet. And one of the things that causes is a little bit of fuzziness in here, but I think it's going to be okay.
Okay, can you please tell us the first two colors?
The first color is lemon from the yellow set number 1, and the second color is the citrus from color set number 2, the orange set. Number 3 is apricot, and number 4 is crimson. If you're following along on the layering guide, let me run this over before that ink dries on me. If you're following along on the layering guide, I'm actually staying with the colors that are here. We have lemon and citrus and apricot and crimson. And then we'll be using moss and basil, but we'll also be using mist and clover, because I like to get 2 different color leaves.
And the citrus was from set 2, right?
Citrus is in set 2, and so is apricot. Okay. And so you can keep going with that if you want it. If you want your reds a little richer or your oranges a little richer, you can lighten up and darken up on each one of those, and it will change the look of the flower too. I think it's really cool to get a card stamped where, you know, there's a formula to these, but it doesn't mean that it always has to be adhered to. And so anytime I can easily modify things and kind of change it up a little bit, I like to do that. And the 5th piece is simply a little bit of darkness. This is completely optional, and I always use the centering tool for this, and I simply set my layout sheet right next to my card, so it's basically oriented the same way, and I lay this on there like this and match it up, and then I simply just pick it up and don't turn it, and I just bring it over and put it right in the center. And we'll do that the same thing with the little guy right here, and he goes like that, and he just comes over like that. Now, I don't know how, there's got to be people out there that are not real familiar with the polymer sets. One of the reasons why polymer took so long to catch on is that it's not as rigid, as firm as rubber is. And so when you stamp with it, if you put a lot of pressure on it, it will squish out and give you more of a fuzzy line. So especially smaller pieces like this. So I'm going to take this ink pad and I'm literally just going to gently, evenly touch it. I'm not going to stamp it. I don't want a lot of ink on it, because that's just going to cause it to want to overstamp. And then when I bring this across, I'm just going to let it touch. I'm not going to put any pressure on those guys at all. And it's going to give me a nice subtle line on there, which is what it was intended to be. If I push down on that, I'll get twice the thickness that I intended, and that's not how it was designed. So be gentle with that portion on any of the small stamps, and it's particularly useful to stamp your sentiments that way, because you can always restamp them, so go easy. So we're done with that one now. And I'm going to show you where they're behind me here. Some of the ones that we pre-made. that talk about, here we left out layer 2 or layer 3. We didn't have the dark orange in here. And on this one we left out layer 2, and we had the dark orange without the lighter orange. And it's a completely different look. And here we simply moved down and left out layer 3 and moved layer 4 down into that position with the crimson, and we got a completely different look versus here we left out layer 2. So all of these things would look really, really interesting if they were mixed together, and none of them would match the one that you did, which had all 4 colors in it. And here's another stamping note for these sets. We chose the ink colors right from the Pantone chart. And we chose them in the order that they come on the Pantone chart. But I had a suspicion that in between those, because I could see the formula, that there was other shadings that might be in there if you were gentle in the way you stamped it. So earlier today I stamped this card. And these 3 are with the mango, which is the number 1 color here. But I stamped it twice here and 3 times here, and you can see it just gets slightly darker. But it still didn't get as dark as the citrus did, which is number 2. So then I stamped the citrus twice and 3 times, and it didn't get as dark as the apricot. So with 3 colors, I've got 6 beautifully graduated colors moving up the color chain. So because these were all made with the same basic formula, they just decreased and increased the percentage of the primary color in there. We can move from one color to the next in gentle phases, and you can get a lot more out of one of these sets than just buying 4 inks. You really get 7 or 8 if you're careful with it. It does get a little bit more difficult when you go to your darker colors. There's not as much graduation as you can see here. These all 3 were the lavender from the first of the purple set. And this was the second one, the lilac. And we got a differentiation, but it's very subtle. And then number 3 was much darker. So the oranges and the yellows and the pinks will give you much more tonality and change than the darker purples and blues will. Okay, let's go ahead and make the lavender or purple card. And it's the same way. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to find my W, and I'm going to lay it in at a horizontal point just like that. And the same thing with the little guy. And you can see it's already starting to be repetitious at this point. So we're certainly not going to do this 8 times. Otherwise I'll have people falling asleep out there in internet land. We'll pick it up gently. I probably should have rubbed it with the eraser prior to putting it down. You can see those are the stamps we just used a few minutes ago, and they're already tacky because the ink takes off that little bit of eraser. So we'll drag all 4 of these guys out because we're going to use them all. And start with the lavender. Either everybody's fallen asleep and they're bored with me, or I'm doing a pretty good job because there aren't any questions so far. So let me know which one that is.
We think he's doing a good job.
That was Sarah talking. Does that mean that it's Sarah, or were you reading a comment?
No, that's me.
Okay. Well, from Sarah, that's high praise. She's been doing this for a long time. I think she started when she was 2 because she's been doing it at least 24 or 25 years.
Excellent job. Somebody just said.
Okay.
You're doing a good job. Paula says.
Thank you. We did this as a make and take, a small portion of this in the Scrapbooks and Stamp Show in Mesa this last weekend. And
So he could practice.
there were a few people that got up from the table at the end and walked away without saying thank you, but nobody threw anything at me, so I guess I did okay. So once again, find the W, find the horizontal line, that's my key. And once I get that in, it's just a micro adjustment. And there's nothing different about that on any of the stamp sets. You look at the stamp and you find something that you can take from one stamp portion to the next and use that as your personal key. Make a mark on your layering guide, make a mark on the back of your stamp. And with a stamping platform, it almost becomes simple after that. So now we're on to, what color is this? Lilac.
Beth saw you in Schaumburg.
Well, thanks for coming by to see us, Beth. We appreciate that. We weren't doing a make and take. We're going to try and negotiate with Scrapbook Expo for next year to give us some extra space so we can actually do a make and take.
Somebody wants to know when you returning to Massachusetts
We haven't got a schedule yet about
for
that.
next year.
Yeah, do you come and see us? What's the name of it? In West Springfield or in?
Susan, which show do you go to?
What's the place in Massachusetts we go to? I'm sorry, Susan, I'm getting old and I can't remember my name half the time, much less the name of the towns anymore.
West Springfield is the one show, and I'm not sure where the other one is. West Springfield
West
is the
Springfield
Air-
is the stamp show. The scrapbook show is up closer to Boston, but I simply can't remember. Seems like it begins with an M. You've been there, Patty.
Marlboro.
Marlboro. Yep. Okay. So that one I personally have never been to. My son, who will take over the business shortly, and my wife usually go to that one, but this year things will be different. So.
She goes to West Springfield.
Okay. Well. There's a chance that I'll be back to West Springfield because if for no other reason than I loved going to West Springfield. So
It's always the first week in June.
now we're on to ink pad number 3. This is Orchid. Oh, that's something I didn't mention. The stamp pads, the tab is actually connected across here when you open it up. And I find it very difficult to stamp those that way with that open. And if you peel it off, which you can, it will tend to stay peeled off. And so I recommend that you open it just slightly and run a thumbnail down there and then run a craft knife down it and cut it. And that's how I deal with them. I think it's a much easier way to handle these little pads. Is the fly back?
Yes.
Oh, I thought I got him. Well, he didn't pay to be in here, so he's expendable. So there must not be a purple lover out there in the crowd because nobody's gushing about how great the purple is.
Do you have big pads?
No, we don't. It's just simply a decision made because there's so many of them. It's an economic decision, more for us than anybody else because we're a small company. And for us to create 48 colors of big pads, we would have had to have sold my grandson. And I would have sold one, but they wanted 2. So I wanted to keep the one. I'm not saying which one. But it takes a major company to be able to do that with big pads. And we're not. We're just a mom and pop little shop. On the other side of that, we don't buy anything in China. Everything is made. Our ink pads are made in San Leandro, California, and our clear sets are made in Dalton, Georgia, and our dies are made in Phoenix, Arizona.
Good.
Okay.
This one?
No, about that one.
I'm seeing little dots when I am stamping with the ColorFuse ink pads. Is that normal?
It is. It's a function of the dye ink being wanting to bead up on the stamp, and you can alleviate that a little bit. I guess I should have repeated the question because you probably didn't hear Pat, but
Oh, yeah.
the one watcher was saying that they were getting little beads of color, and that's exactly right. It's beading up on the clear set. Some conditioning will help it. It will not stop it for a while. Eventually, your stamp will lose all that tack or all the stickiness, and it'll start to even out. But I quite often stamp multi-layer levels on this, simply because we get a better stamp color that way, better rendition on the color, and it takes away the problem.
And then the question next is on when will we have refills?
I put a call into the company that I believe is back in full business right now. It took them a long time to get past the COVID issue. And I put a call into him to talk about converting the rest of our stored ink that's there into another batch of cubes and a couple hundred sets of the re-inkers. And so I haven't heard back, but I hope to within the week. And we'll be getting started with those and should have them, I would guess, sometime right after the first of the year with the holidays and the backlog of, because there's a lot of stuff that gets created this time of year going forward to get ready for next year's season. So there's our purple card, and it will crisp up as it dries, and the colors will separate themselves a little bit more, as these guys did, that we did earlier today. And oh, you know what? I forgot to put the center in this one. So we'll go back and pick that up. And once again, using the layering guide, like I said, each time I lay the stamp down on here and I bring it across and I put it right there. And then the little one, we didn't intend for those to fit any place perfect. The black is so contrasting that it pretty much stands out wherever you put it. I lost my ink pad. Once again, a gentle stamp. And a gentle touch. You can always do it twice. You can't undo it. Okay. So that one goes there. I'm going to use a couple of the little pieces now, and I'm going to do you a few leaves to show you how simple those are. There's three individual leaves on here, and we're going to start with the solid. I'll just put it right down the middle. And the next two are fairly, they're pretty similar. The first level is, so make sure you know which one's which, so you put the right second layer on with the first layer. And again, they're very sticky. I'm just going to take that tack off a bit. And now we'll switch to our green pad. And these will be starting with ink number 1 and number 3, Mist and Clover. And then we'll come back and do one with the moss and the basil so you can see the difference. So those stamped very nicely, but I want a little bit more richness of color. So I'm going to hit them again. these just fit over generally. They're drawn a lot looser, so you just want to kind of get them in the general proximity. I'm looking at these right now and seeing that the second layer on a lot of this piece is actually overlapping the first layer, and that's just fine. And when you die cut them, if you're off quite a bit, it'll just trim it away anyway, so not to worry on these. I always set the stamps back down with my finger on the platform so that I can drag the rubber across them and not lift them and have to start the process all over again. And this darker ink will definitely beat up a little bit. We'll see which one we have to do more than once. None of them, they all look great. So that's a light leaf, and now we're going to do a darker one. And you could get more than 3 leaves on here easily. So take advantage of that when you're doing it. You can get one set up here and one other one there. I'm being selfish today. And now we're going to use moss and basil. Obviously, there's no rule that says that you can't use mist and basil as well. Any contrast you want, they're going to be just fine that way. It goes in the middle. Are there still people following along and stamping with me, or have we?
Well, there's 53 people watching.
And how many are actively stamping?
Don't know that.
Well, sing out if you've got the moment to say yes I am, or the people that are not, let us know that you're just watching, and we'll assume the other people that don't answer are busy stamping. So I'm going to bring
they're stamping.
I'm going to bring the light card back in, and so you can see the contrast. Now this is wet and it's going to soften as it dries, but it's not going to get down as far as this is. So
people are stamping and they're trying to keep up.
Okay.
And then some are watching and will stamp later.
Well, I think that's always a good idea to get it down the road, but the people who are stamping are probably the more experienced ones. So we've basically done everything now. And no, one more thing. We've got the little pieces of paper here, and there are 2 sentiments that we're going to do. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp those on here. You're the best, and thanks a lot are going to get stamped right on the card if I'm not mistaken. Where's my cover page? I lost it in my jungle of stuff over here. There it is. Yeah, you're the best and thanks so much will be stamped off of onto another piece of paper. You can do that on Blooming, You're Just Blooming Amazing, and put it someplace in a circle up here, or you can stamp it directly on the card. There's only one of this scallop card in your set, and so as we said in the instructions, you can stamp one flower right in the middle of that to start. I chose and choose not to do that kind of thing. If I only have one piece of paper to make a mistake on, I tend to get real nervous and make a mistake just because I'm afraid of making a mistake. So I wouldn't stamp on that. I would just set mine on with tape. But I'm not too worried about the phrase. But 4 colors of ink on a flower, I would be more tentative about.
So somebody's asking, was the guide lining up supposed to be in the kit? So if they didn't get one,
They didn't get a layering guide?
yes.
It happens, but it's pretty rare. They get printed at the same time, and we basically put one in as we put the other one in. But if you didn't get one,
It is folded, color side in.
and I don't know that we've got it available on the website where you can just download it and print it,
Oh, yeah.
or do we?
No, but we can.
We'll look at it. See, I think maybe it's there. Go to 3316 on our website and see if it's not one of the accompanying photos.
Okay.
Oh, you can't do it on that computer.
No, I can't. So, sorry. I'll just let us know.
Wasn't it the front package?
Okay, so with these 2 sentiments, it's the same thing. It's a gentle stamp. I'm going to rock it ever so slightly back and forth to make sure I got all edges covered. And then I'm just going to look at it to see if I feel like it's inked all the way, and I think it is. And this one I will give the lightest touch right across it, and then look at it. Nope, not nearly light enough or heavy enough. And I'm going to run this one more time on this one. And one more time here. Okay. So those are ready to be trimmed and placed onto the finished card. And you can trim those as we've done in a rectangular motion with a flag tail in the end, or cut them square, or however you'd like. And I'll turn this guy over and we'll put You're the Best on there. You're Blooming Amazing. My stamp is not particularly clean. It'd be really nice if it was clean, but it's not. But yours is brand new, so it should be wonderful to stamp with. Quite. I do love the stamping platform. Overstamping is gone, misstamping is gone, and you just get nice crisp images.
So a couple people are saying that their video is pausing and it's a little disjointed. So when Sarah puts this up on YouTube,
The video will be fine. I think that's transmission and not actual recording. So if she's recording this, it should all be clean and smooth. She stepped off to answer the phone, but she'll be back in a second. We'll confirm that, but I'm pretty sure that's how it's going to go. Let me go through my notes here and make sure we've got everything that we wanted to get done. So is anybody having any trouble aligning the stamps as opposed to just getting them to mate, so that you understand how to rotate it and get it in the right position and have a chance to actually get a clean stamp? This is the first time through this for you, and it's, like I said, this is the most difficult stamp set we have because there's so many little peaks and valleys on here. We don't have another one that's even close to this, but I really believe that I didn't waste my time in creating this one, and it, well, I give it high marks, but obviously that's personal preference or ego talking, one or the other. I'm quite willing to accept either of those answers.
Can you review lining up the fourth layer again?
Yeah, I can. So somebody wants me to line up the fourth layer. And so the layering guide. In the layering guide, I'm looking for this W, and it happens 3 times, but it doesn't happen here. But what I chose for my second point on each of the first 3 layers is this point right here, because it happens right here again on number 2, it happens right here on number 3, and it also happens here on number 4. So I do have something that occurs on all 4 layers. It's not as predominant as the W is, so I use that to begin with, and then I look down here to bring my other position, the other rest of the stamp into position. And that's where I start on this layer.
Make your pencil more darker.
Make the pencil darker. And then I use this point right here as the secondary point. It's just a little oval shaped blob that just fits out on the very end. But that point right there and that point right there, it's the lesser of the 2 peaks, not the biggest one, but the smallest one that's down there, that is my focus. Because again, the large one doesn't occur on stamp number 4, only the small one does. So that's the key on anything, is if you can find something common from one to the next, and if it's not the same from the second to the third, it's something that's common on those 2, and then something you can transfer again. Finding commonality in these things will help immensely to get to make it easy for you to find where you want to line them up. And as you're rotating them with 1 point or 2 points in there, a little micro adjustment, and you'll see that the white that's peeking out on the sides will literally just disappear. And in my mind, I can hear the color just click into place. And I know I've got it. And if I can remove my hands without it sticking to the polymer, then I'm set. I have to go back in about 1 out of every 3 and readjust it because it sticks to your fingers easily. Especially nails, ladies, with your nails, it can easily stick. So try to use the pads of your fingers rather than the tips of your nails to do that. I know it's not easy to do that, but it does help. The scallop layout, and see if I can brave this white paper with the ink all over my fingers now. I don't like my odds very much. In the pack we have the scallop, and there's lots of dots to punch out. And so I'm going to hand those to my wife to punch those out real quick for me. See if she can do that. We have an envelope for you, and here's the card back, and it's got an insert that Sarah put in for us, so you can stamp a phrase right on the inside if you'd like to. So we're going to go ahead and affix that to the inside, and I've got some score tape around here someplace, and I'm going to use somewhere. Ah, here we go. Can't find the edge. It's a good thing I'm not a safe cracker. she completed the punching task in fine order. I don't know about you guys, but I just love taping stuff down because I love things stuck to my fingers. My wife is smiling and shaking her head. It's not quite a phobia, but it's almost. So I've been told if you simply flick at this, it will pop up if you burnished it down well enough. We'll see. 1 out of 4. Okay. Not that time. Make sure we put this on the right way. While I'm doing this, let me tell you about Rubbernecker and the fact that starting a few minutes ago until midnight Central Time on Saturday, Rubbernecker will be having their whole booth. I think it's the whole booth. There could easily be an exception or two. We don't usually run ColorFuse on a discount. And any product that we typically buy from somebody else and resell, we don't discount that much. But stamps, dies, and
Stencils.
what are those things that?
Stencils.
Stencils, yes. You see, when you get my age, you forget words. But there's the code for it. So at the end of your cart, there's a place for a code. It's not at checkout, it's actually on the cart page where you review the cart and say it's good to go. Type in Rubbernecker. It doesn't have to be capitalized. Rubbernecker 25, all one word, and they'll give you a 25% discount. That's on top of any other discounts that you may earn if you're a gold member and you're doing it and buying things that are on sale for you at that time. They will also be on sale, but you'll get both.
So the question was, the more you use the stamps, the less dots will show?
The more times that you stamp it, that's a function of the ink beating up on the stamp. And if you stamp the stamp immediately again, you will get better coverage and better coverage again. So as you saw me stamp the yellow on the very first fully smooth stamps, I stamped 3 different times. I wanted it nice and bright, but I also knew that I wasn't going to get good coverage on it on the first stamp, and maybe not even on the second one. So I accepted that fact, and it's just difficult with any dye inks on a clear, smooth surface. And anybody that has ever stamped a Halloween silhouette in black on a smooth piece of white cardstock, it's very, very difficult to get it to come out completely smooth and even. But the stamp positioner will let you hit that over and over again until you get what you want out of it. Okay, let's move some stuff out of the way here and build some cards. Okay, I'd like a cheat sheet for this so we can kind of try and build them the way that we showed them to you. And so we're going to start with this guy right here, and like I said, I've got him with some tape on the back. It's actually some pop-up, but that's my preference. And we wanted to put him right about like so. And the pop-up is nice because it lets me slip the leaves easily underneath.
How long is the code good for?
I'm sorry,
How long is the code
I
good
was
for?
asked how long the code is good for. The code is good until Saturday night, this coming Saturday night. I'm not sure what the date is on that, 25th maybe?
Yep, it was the 25th.
25th, midnight, Central Time.
Eastern time or Central time?
Central Time.
And it's Rubbernecker 25.
Rubbernecker 25, all one word. Okay, I'm going to bring my stamp positioner back in again, and I'm going to attempt to stamp on this guy. And this is when the wheels can definitely come off the cart, but I'm hoping my magnets can hold this down nice and firm so I can get away with this. Okay, my stamp set is around here someplace. There it is. And we're going to try to put Just Bloomin' Amazing right about like that. Did not like the way it looked when I stamped it. It looks like it's got some cloth on it from wiping it off before. So try it again and see if it looks good. Much better. If you haven't tried the VersaFine Clear inks that I'm using, you're missing out. This is the go-to ink for using water-based markers to color in things. It's the cousin of Memento Tuxedo Black, both made by the Sukaneko company. There we go. Just Bloomin' Amazing. Got our place for the cinnamon on the inside, and almost like the picture. Okay, that's one. And now let's move to the splatter card that we talked about. So we pre-printed this card. This is our rubber stamp number 1231, which will soon be converted to clear. I don't know that we have any of them right now in rubber. We may have finished the run on rubber, but we'll be soon making it in a clear stamp. And we stamped it twice, turning it 180 degrees so it didn't match up, with a gray and an orange from our set. And we're going to go ahead and put that on the front of this guy. And I'm going to switch to a tape runner because I'm a little lazier, and see if I can do this without really making a mess. And I have not forgotten how to use one, so look at that.
Do you need
It
help?
has been a year since I tried this with COVID.
Sarah asked if you needed help.
She asked if I needed help. Yeah, I need help, but it's just not necessarily with that, but I definitely need help. Yeah. If you have anything that's made with rye and comes from Kentucky, bring it right on over, and I'd have some. And then we also have a thin piece of paper that's a very beige color, and we're going to put a couple lines of tape on that, and that's just going to obscure the dots right up against the edge of the card. I like the look where the dots are out in the middle, but my stamp wasn't editable like that, so we'll put this guy right on here like this and pretend we never stamped there, just like that. And we're going to build this with 4 flowers this time, and we're going to start with one of them at the top, and the orientation is not important. We're just going to layer them down here, and we're going to go large, small, as long as our offsets don't touch each other. We'll be okay. I pre-did these with pop-up tape, and I probably should have done a couple of them with just tape, but we'll manage.
Robbie's gonna put splatter background up online.
We just got an email from my son saying that he would make a couple of splatter background stamps and get it back up online if anybody wanted them, so they would be in stock for you.
For the sale.
For the sale, so you would have them at the sale price before Saturday night. And some leaves, and this one's got a lot of leaves. But it is nice that leaves are completely personal preference.
Is the discount good on sale items?
The discount is good on anything that's packaged with the Rubbernecker logo on it, like this,
There are some
With-
sale items in there.
with the exception of our inks. Is Robbie there to talk to you?
He's been online, yes.
Ask him if he included the inks. I don't think he did. And then I'm going to go back here and grab our phrases. And that one is for the best. And I'm going to turn around on Sarah's paper cutter real quick and slice this for you, if I can. You will remember how to use one of these. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like about like that. Does this paper cutter actually cut paper?
Yeah, that works pretty good.
And it's the operator behind it that's not doing the job. There, we cut the last piece. Okay.
Yes. Hang on. So the inks are not on sale, Dave.
Okay. Yes, the ColorFuse are not on sale.
Okay, thanks.
Are the sale items on sale?
Yes.
And so we just cut that right out of the piece that we stamped. And we'll find a spot that we like to lay it on here. Maybe we'll tuck it underneath that flower just a little bit. Slide it over that way. And there we have card number 2.
Oh, goodness.
And finally the stripe card, my favorite. So I'm going to get some help from my wife on this. The stamp that we use to make this with is the horizontal stripe. It actually stamps this way, but it's okay to turn the stamp that way. And the number on it is
1330.
5.
Mm-hmm.
1335 is the stamp
We
that we
think.
use to use this.
There's some out there.
There's actually one out there. There's actually one that I think we'll have on sale here on the flash sale in a few minutes.
Comment sold. The
What's
live
that?
sale. The live
The
sale.
live sale, I'm sorry, not the flash sale. Okay. Score tape is wonderful, but you can't beat a machine. You just can't.
1335.
Okay. And this guy's got a lot of greenery. If the greenery gets too much for you to cut out, just go with less. It's okay. In preparing for this today, it literally took me over 3 hours to stamp all these guys and cut them all out. So it's a long, tedious process. Just because we put it on the card that way doesn't mean you have to do it. My wife is shaking her head saying, oh yeah, they have to do it. No, they really don't. Seems to be some discussion going on in the gallery, but I haven't been notified of anything yet, so I don't know if I've done something wrong or not.
You haven't. You're good, Dave.
Okay. You mean that you've noticed? Because I'm always doing something wrong. It's not that my wife tells me I do things wrong. She just has this little twitch in her eyebrow. And after 49 years, I finally noticed that it usually only happens when I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing. Or worse than that, saying something I shouldn't be doing, kind of like now. Honey, I promise if we make it to 50 next year, I won't do anything wrong ever after that. Sarah just choked. We're having a good time and we're not having any margaritas yet.
Yet. Keyword.
I don't know if any of you know it though, but I'm obligated now to drink bourbon because Rubbernecker has relocated from California to Tennessee. Now you might have noticed your packages are getting there a couple days earlier because we're closer for most of you. I haven't left, I'm just cutting out the phrase to go on this one. I'll be right with you.
Sherry Watka says the only thing to drink in Wisconsin is a brandy old fashioned.
Okay, brandy old fashioned. Well, you know, I think I read that someplace that was the drink of choice here. That it was some kind of special. You guys do it very specially, as I recall. It wasn't just a simple one, but done differently. I mean, I know that brandy is not the typical alcohol for an old fashioned. It's bourbon, but there's something else that I remember that was done to it to make it more interesting here. Not that you guys need interesting. I mean, you have the Packers. So.
Sometimes they're interesting.
Oh no, they're interesting all the time. Just some of it is more tense than others. But you know what? You know what Aaron says. Just relax. So there's our third card for the night.
Bourbon old fashions are outstanding too.
Well, I don't want to disparage any old fashions. I happen to be a Manhattan guy, but it's pretty close. Just a spoonful of sugar, as Mary would say.
Says.
And there you have it. So happy stamping to get all those flowers made, and watch this again. If there's anything that you guys come up with that you think that I could have done better on here, or any tips that you've found in stamping that would be nice to pass on to somebody else, please let us know. And we will be more than happy to get that out. We can always amend the audio of this this session and add in some information if you've got something to share. Feel free to let us hear it. We can always delete the email, it's not a problem.
And we'll be back in about 5 minutes or so doing a comment sold. So if you want to stay online and join us, Rubbernecker is going to have some of their stamps that we'll be doing on comment sold tonight. And then on Saturday, we'll be doing our big comment sold for the paper cut. So stay online, guys, and hopefully...
And the prices in the comments online, or what's comment sale,
the comment sold.
those are less, those prices will be less than 25% off of
We
our
don't have
regular.
very many.
We
Yeah.
don't have very many, but it's a better deal than the deal on our website. So
Right.
get them here rather than on the website.
Alrighty, so we're going to sign off of the class now, and we will see you guys back in about 5 minutes. Thanks for joining us, guys.
How'd I do, Sarah? Good, huh?